Jörg.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Mediator guys. Hello. Ben. Ja, one camera.
I feel like a flash.
Yeah.
Hey guys, good to see you. Treated first class flying over.
Yeah.
Lizzie, wave over. Lizzie, wave over here.
I've got a Transformer show tomorrow. Just on 25 minutes. The next day I had to do that. How many primes can you sell?
Exactly. Big business, bit of pleasure.
That's why more often than not you will see Optimus Prime to do. They need a bit of help.
C'est quoi le problème?
Just problème avec CGX mode.
Comment?
C'est CGX mode.
Tu parles français, tu peux parler français. Ouais, je parle français, je suis belgique moi.
Ah. Non, c'est bien, c'est un problème de réglage. L'écran il est vert. Il y a quelque chose. Arrête, que ce soit c'était les X-Man il veut pas. Save. C'est où Thierry? On va essayer un petit
Okay, een close-up op die Artesia chipset. Where the hell? I don't care. Excusez-moi. Est-ce que tu peux ouvrir la fenêtre à propos de cet ordinateur?
Oui.
Merci bien.
You can touch it if you want.
You're not getting away. Oh. Quiz? Chris?
Don't ask Alan, he's got one that's actually from this century.
En Ben, is het hier voor?
Voor een keer dat ik eens opstaan zonder pint in mijn poten. Dat is... Zit jij weer op de knop? Dus de laatste moet je eens kijken als een ding op staat, als de fonts zo gekopieerd. Maar de laatste slide niet projecteren. I'm not sure yet, though. I'll find out soon. Okay, no, it's fine. It's alright. I'm just playing the fonts. En wanneer dat moet klikken, hè?
Dan kon je wel krampen krijgen, dat weet ik.
Gewoon zo, maar klopt.
I'm not going to dance. I'm not going to dance.
Auw, auw. Soms zijn wij een beetje in die van Bottom. Kennen ze die?
Wat?
Die van Bottom. Die klopt
Ja,
Hij zit er kon.
ik ben die maar hoor.
Good afternoon, everybody. We have Ben Hermans with his AmigaOS 4 presentation, and there'll be questions later, so just save them till then. Thank you. Ben Hermans.
Okay, this seems to work. Well, first of all, I would like to thank everybody for showing up here in, well, still numerous amount of people here, so thanks everybody. Unfortunately not as many people as last year. I wasn't really here last year, but that's what they say to me. Anyway, so just a short presentation on OS4. What does it stand for? Where are we now? And so forth. And as you already heard, unfortunately the organizers have forbidden me for answering questions until, what is it, like 5 p.m. or something? Okay, so don't kill me. It's not my fault. Okay, first slide, or whatever it is. Okay, so these are the design goals of OS4. I mean, why are we doing what we are doing? Just to remind everybody, the idea is to take the existing 68K based OS and move it over to PPC. Obviously we need more performance, so the 68K family really has to be written off. We also need to untie the operating system from the chipsets. Currently the AmigaOS is heavily tied to the Amiga proprietary chipsets, and well, these are no longer being produced and completely outdated, so we can't really keep relying on them. Another important goal of OS4 is to introduce modern functionality. The operating system wasn't really updated in a serious way since 1994. We had OS 3.5 and 3.9, which were nice efforts, but they didn't really address any fundamental questions. And as a result, we're more or less stuck with the same functionality that we had way back in the times of 3.1 with the Commodore 4000 and so forth. And finally, an important goal is to prepare the AmigaOS as a host operating system for Amiga DE. Some of you might have mixed feelings about Amiga DE, but you'll agree that it's a bit silly to call something Amiga whatever and then not have it run on Amiga and only on Windows and Linux. So plus it brings in a bunch of nice games and a Java engine, which I think is a nice benefit. Okay, next slide. I'll walk you through the features of OS4. If you've been reading the Amiga website, you probably know most of them, but I'll immediately give a status update on each feature as we go. So the most important part is exec second generation. The exec kernel is the heart of the AmigaOS system, which is what makes the AmigaOS special to us. The responsiveness, the flexibility and so forth. This is all a result of the kernel, or to some extent at least. We've completely rewritten the kernel in C. Originally it was coded in 68K assembly, so it couldn't really be used on the PPC. Currently it stands at 42,000 lines of code, 4,000 of which are PPC assembly, but these are located in the hardware abstraction layer. Now we've not only rewritten the kernel entirely, we've also introduced a lot of new functionality to inject this modern functionality I was talking about before. First of all, there's the hardware abstraction layer. We want to be able to take the operating system and move it to a new PPC platform with relative ease. We've been able to port the kernel from the Cyberstorm PPC that we were using as a development platform to the Amiga 1 in just 5 days, thanks to the hardware abstraction layer. You can see the results out there in the exhibition hall, where you can see exec-SG running natively and booting on the Amiga 1 hardware. Second point is we've introduced virtual memory and a single virtual address space to allow us to use virtual memory. I mean, lots of people are saying, well, you know, virtual memory, why do we need it? We got tons of memory that we can stick into the Amiga 1 and so forth. Well, first of all, the first remark is on the Cyberstorm PPC you only have 128 megabytes. Secondly, however much memory you put into the system, and money, because memory can be expensive, eventually you'll run out, and you haven't found an application yet that can't run out memory if it really chooses to. So virtual memory is a must, and it must not be hacked into the system in some kind of VMM-like way that we have currently. It has to be integrated at the deepest level. We've also introduced optional memory protection to prevent us from crashing frequently. Well, at least, but we can at least try. So, and we've also made a lot of changes with respect to the how memory is being handled and allocated. The current system that we have currently in the Amiga is a bit outdated and rather slow, especially with deallocation. Thomas Frieden has introduced a flexible scheme to handle memory, which also allows to enlarge stacks on the fly, which basically stack underrun, or applications running out of stack space are responsible for between 30 to 50% of the crashes of AmigaOS, or at least of the applications, which usually means that the AmigaOS is coming with it. So this is an important step. We're also preparing for isolated address spaces. We can't really implement it just now because it will break a lot of applications not playing by the rules. So these are the features of the new kernel. I'm not going to list them all. You can read them yourself. This is, let's say, 99% finished. It's been a major undertaking to get it to the state that it is now. But I can happily say, and as you can see in the exhibition hall, the kernel is completely up and running on 2 different platforms, and we're very satisfied with the results we're getting. Just to quote a couple of numbers, the message signaling time stands at 4 microseconds on a 600 megahertz G3. Currently on the Cyberstorm PPC, that's stands at 40 microseconds, and when you compare that to OS 9 and OS 10 Macintosh operating system, it's respectively 40 microseconds and 400 microseconds. The switching between supervisor and user mode takes around 100 nanoseconds, again on this 600 megahertz G3. Basically, you know, I may realize that these numbers don't mean a whole lot to you, to some at least, but it means that we're very close to a real-time operating system, or as close as we've ever gotten to. So you will be enjoying the full responsiveness of the system as you've been enjoying it up to now, and a lot more. So actually, we with these numbers we even beat QNX. So just a little tease there. So anyway, so next slide. Okay, so this is the the just-in-time emulator for backwards compatibility of 68K existing applications. So basically, what does a JIT do? It takes the existing 68K code and translates it on the fly dynamically into PPC code, which is subsequently executed. We're very satisfied with the performance we've been able to get out of our JIT emulator. You can see the benchmarks for yourself. Basically, even on the really low-end Blizzard PPC, the 603/160, you get about the same performance as a 6050. Varying, obviously benchmarks vary from one situation to another, and they're highly misleading from time to time. These are more or less accurate ideas what you're getting. So even on a Blizzard PPC, you're going to get a lot more speed than you're getting on your current 4025. And if you've got an 6050, you're not losing anything. And if you've got a Cyberstorm, you're actually be gaining from the speed that is gained even on your current hardware. So that's actually something we're quite pleased with. Now, what this means for the Amiga 1, obviously, is this is an infinitely more superior architecture, especially the memory interface, the CPU, and so forth. You'll be able to run existing 68K applications at factors 5, 10, 20 the speed that your currently 6050 is running it, depending, of course, on the speed of the PPC CPU used. And well, I think that in itself is already a significant bonus. Obviously, the idea is to move as much code over to PPC for OS4 natively, because nothing beats real code being compiled for it. But there's some stuff that's never going to be migrated because the author is no longer available, the source code has been lost, and so forth. So we need a solid base to execute our existing applications at a decent speed. Maestro? Okay, this is a whole bunch of features. I'm just going to walk you over it. Well, the PPC native TCP IP stack Roadshow by Olaf Bartel, it's really a jewel to use. It's the fastest on the platform. It comes with AMA SSL 2.0, which is a secure socket layer implementation. It's got all kinds of fancy things like DHCP and so forth. It's the best and most well-rounded stack, and also the fastest on the platform. It beats even Miami DX, and that's already in itself quite an achievement. There's still a bit of work on it in terms of the front end, meaning the dialer. The actual underlying technology is completely implemented, and we're just polishing up the dialer a bit so you can access all the functionality that's already available. Okay, the fast file system 2 for PPC, nothing new there. That's a well-known fact already. We've re-implemented the fast file system for backwards compatibility reasons mostly. It's completely outdated in terms of design and also of performance, but you want to be able to read your existing Amiga partitions and migrate over to a different file system. SFS will be included also in the PPC native form for people who have been enjoying that up to now. And for the future, we're looking into a new and more robust, reliable file system based to some extent on something from the Linux or BSD world. Okay, the PPC native CD file system, well, nothing spectacular there, you say, but it's got packet writing on the one hand, and for more advanced CD rewriters, it's also got Mount Rainier support. Now, I understand that these terms probably don't mean a whole lot to you. Let me explain. Packet writing is the ability to use your CD rewriter as a hard disk, basically, as a floppy. So instead of having to burn a CD in one go, you can just drag files to it and copy it like you were doing it on the normal hard disk. Packet writing is the inferior standard. It's not really a standard, but inferior implementation. So that's why Philips came up with a new standard, brand new standard. It's called Mount Rainier, and this basically allows you to optimally use a CD rewriter as a storage medium and use it as you were using any hard disk, and it of course gives you a lot of opportunity to share files, make backups on the fly without having to resort to a specialized tool all the time. Okay, the recovery and salvage tools, what are those? They're basically a suite of tools designed to recover partitions, recover lost files, both for FFS2 and SFS. So when you lose something, when inevitably something is going to go wrong at one point or another. So use this thing, and you got a good chance of actually getting back your information. Well, by the way, you should always back up your hard disk, but well, nobody ever does that anyway, so that's why it's there. So, okay, and we got the PPC native CD backup tool. Why is this required? What you can do with it? It's a simple tool that allows you to transfer files to a CD and exchange it with Windows or Mac users. And let's face it, floppies are no longer sufficient to exchange data between two platforms. I mean, 1.4 megabytes, that's nothing anymore. So you need something that can cater for your needs, and a blank CD at, what is that? I have to calculate in pounds now. I was going to say something in euro, but I'll get lynched here probably. So, well, that's about slightly less than a pound. So it's an ideal choice, you know. So just simply burn your files and exchange it with a Windows and Mac user, so that you and vice versa. The well, PPC native RTG system, everybody knows what that is, just using RTG for graphics boards. We will be supplying support for PerMedia 2, Voodoo 3, PerMedia 3, which, well, Chris Moore is probably going to kill me now, but if you go over there after this presentation, you can see Picasso 96 V3 running on the PerMedia 3. It's an evolution of the PerMedia 2. It's actually still used in work class stations, usually in combination with a specialized OpenGL chip. We're also going to have Radeon drivers and a fair deal more. You might have noticed that on the Amiga 1 we're actually using a NVIDIA card. Now, this doesn't mean that we're going to support NVIDIA. Unfortunately, NVIDIA does not give out information on its chipset to anybody. We've tried, and we haven't entirely given up yet, but we don't think it's very likely. But what we have implemented there in the BIOS, so for the firmware of the Amiga 1, is a specialized x86 emulator, which basically takes the initialization code of the graphics board, translates it to PPC, and executes it. As a result, you get a VGA display. You stick in Voodoo 3, NVIDIA card, Radeon in your Amiga 1, and you immediately get a display when you turn it on. And, well, thanks to Hans-Jörg Friedman for doing that. So, okay, that's next one. Okay, this is layers.library in PPC. Well, it's a very specialized library, but what we've done is we've completely rewritten it in C and optimized it. And also we're now allowing, it's an option, so don't kill me, you're now allowed to move windows off screen if you feel the need. So, but you're not forced to. So I get emails either way. You know, people saying, threatening me with execution if I do not implement this feature, and other people saying, if you do implement it, I will be seriously pissed off. So you know, so we've made it optional. So. Okay, Warp 3D. Everybody knows Warp 3D, and the Freedom Brothers that did it. It's the 3D API for the Amiga. We're going to completely rewrite it to support modern graphics boards like the Radeon line. The Voodoo 3 is it's a really good card, but it's no longer up to date, and it's not being made anyway. So, and so we're bringing that in as well. OpenGL 1.3. Well, another 3D API, cross-platform. Macintosh uses it, Windows uses it. Allows for easy portability of OpenGL, like Quake 2, for instance, that you could see. And it's a great tool for people who do not want to learn the Warp 3D or who have code base in OpenGL to migrate it to the Amiga. The RTA system, retardable audio, based on AHI, allows you to use sound cards from the PC world, including the Sound Blasted Live. We do have already, since quite some time, Sound Blasted Live drivers by Martin Blom himself, and they're working quite nicely. And it's really a nice, well-rounded card. Of course, we have to be realistic. We're not going to be able to support every piece of PCI hardware that's out there. There's a number of graphics boards from manufacturers that you probably never heard of before. We can't support them all. We're going to select a few really good pieces and support those in favor of supporting a whole bunch poorly. We're going to support a few very well. So, well, the PPC native GUI system, intuition and reaction. Those of you that are on the internet will have seen that we've done a lot of work on intuition, and actually I'm pleased to say that it's 99% finished. we'll be releasing new screenshots soon, probably in a week or so, maybe 2 weeks. You know, I'd get myself some leeway here, so otherwise, again, angry emails. So anyway, so we put some screenshots on the internet, which shows you what we've been doing. Most of the time, we're using existing hacks like visual prefs, full palette, birdie, and so forth, and we're moving them into Intuition. And at the same time, we're still improving them. We're bringing in new graphics from Match-Put, new system graphics. Now, I know some of you have been appalled at the color scheme of the screenshots so far, but please be advised, this is not the final look, and this is just the developer showing off what he did to Intuition in terms of functionality. And Massimo Tentingione actually admitted to me that, he's not really the greatest in terms of choosing color schemes. So, but you can do it all yourself if you really want to. We're already quite close to a fully skinnable GUI system. Not quite there yet, but we're getting really close. And the Intuition functionality is really outstanding. We have to balance though between breaking existing applications and introducing new functionality. I mean, we can also come up with some kind of macOS lookalike and then break, well, 50% of the applications, and I think a lot of you will be very upset when we try to do something on that, and we're probably already breaking quite a few applications that are hitting the hardware and so forth, so we're trying to, well, insulate us from even further complaints. Not that I'm trying to insinuate that Amiga users complain all the time, you know, but anyway, so let's pick it up a bit. PPC native shell, which is the 3.9 shell from Vincent from Thomas Richter. The AmiDoc, actually, that's quite interesting. The AmiDoc was included with 3.9. Now, forget everything you saw in 3.9, the AmiDoc. The thing's being completely rewritten from scratch, and then supports all kinds of new functionality, including subdocs, the ability to work together with something called application.library, a new concept which allows applications to register themselves with the system. So they can be represented in the doc as a sort of taskbar, but you can also issue commands to the application, say iconify, uniconify, quit, and so forth. So it's a way for the system to keep track of the applications. It's really an amazing piece of software, and I believe an older version, including most of the stuff that you're seeing behind me, is available for demonstration over at Chris Morris there on the left. And he said that no, so far nobody's asked him about OS 4. It's probably because he hit the sign somewhere or something in favor of Quake 2 or whatever. So, well, anyway, so if you want, you can check this stuff out. Most of it is already there. Okay, next. We're almost there, folks. Okay, well, you know, that's just like a WinZip type thing, you know, which allows you to extract and archive files quite easily and user-friendly. SCSI drivers for the people having a Cyberstorm card, and also for other members of the SCSI scripts family. Amiga Input is an API that allows you to control, as a programmer, multiple input devices like joystick, digital joysticks, mouse, USB mouse, and so forth, all with one single. It's particularly for game programs, it's quite handy. And well, we have something with games, you know that. So. Okay, the USB stack, self-explanatory. PPC native data types from my countryman Oliver Roberts, probably the best on the market. No, I make that definitely the best on the market. So he's recompiling them for OS 4, and well, they fly. So the HT toolbox, we saw screenshots on that on the Amiga website. It's basically the most advanced hard disk and partitioning tool ever made on the Amiga. Some people are complaining there's too much functionality in it. Well, then switch to beginner mode. So, you know, sorry about that, but I mean, it's better to have a little bit more than a little bit less, you know. Okay, support for TrueType, OpenType fonts. We got an absolute maniac in the OS 4 development team by the name of Detlef Wurkner, and he's doing stuff with fonts that I didn't even know was possible, really. So, especially in terms of supporting different languages. Of course, for an English-speaking audience, this is not particularly important, but there's people from Turkey, from Norway. Oh yes, I'm insulting a bunch of people now. Except people from Pagan over there, sorry about that, and the French-speaking people. But anyway, so local support is extremely important for the, especially for the German market, with the different signs and so forth. And we've written a whole bunch of libraries to support it, including graphics, locale, disk font, and I'm probably missing a few. But anyway, so we licensed a bunch of fonts from Agfa, people also making the Windows fonts, and basically they're magically compatible with what we have now, what Windows has, and they look quite a lot better than what we have now, TrueType fonts. And it comes with a rather advanced font manager, but don't ask me to explain all these things, because I never knew there were so many ISO standards for fonts, really, you know. Anyway, so the web browser, a very popular item, iBrowse 2.3, which is a bug-fixed 2.2 with much improved JavaScript support. A common complaint on the Amiga is that a lot of pages will not be displayed correctly, or the browser chokes on JavaScript, and I can honestly say that this is the most complete JavaScript support for the Amiga up to date. Oh, that's my mobile, sorry about that. Another Hyperion programmer calling me, so... Well, MUI PPC, everybody knows MUI. It's an alternative GUI system for the Amiga, quite widely used, quite liked by some and hated by others. And iBrowse uses it, quite a lot of other applications also use it, so we decided it's wise to offer it as a backwards compatibility option. What we're doing though is we're intuition and reaction are basically being integrated to one single UI system, and it is the preferred way to go. But there are still a lot of applications. Okay, I really have to turn it off now. So he's very persistent. Some of them actually know Stefan Hauser. He did the Quake port, and probably wants to hear what people have to say about it or something. So, okay, next slide. Okay, I'm going to turn off the phone in the meanwhile. Well, reading and printing of PDF files. I mean, everybody's been frustrated already. You get this Acrobat file or whatever file from somebody with a Macintosh or a Windows PC, and well, it's very nice. And what do you do with it? And well, nothing really, because you can't really open it. So we've incorporated that. Especially the printing part is rather important, because you want to be able not just to read it, also you want to be able to print it, and that's the whole point. Portable document format. I mean, a document on the screen is not really that portable, really. Okay, the DOS library. For the specialists among you, we've retired BCPL, and Tripos is now officially dead. So, well, nobody knows what it is. Well, all the better. So it's really messy. So we've got rid of that. It's probably one of the most horrific legacy stuff that was in the AmigaOS. And actually, BCPL is a predecessor of C. It just gives you an idea how old this thing was. So we completely rewritten it in C, and whilst a few programs might break, tough luck. Okay, the PPC native movie player, based on Action, Move It, call it whatever you want to, with DivX and MPEG-4 support, amongst other. The list of codecs was so long that we ran out of Scala plays, but basically it's very fast, and even on a Blizzard PPC running Warp OS already, it's very impressive in terms of speed. Now, there's a lot of contenders out there like Frogger and so forth, and I'm not knocking them or saying that they're worse or anything like that, but this is a very competent piece of software. PPC native devices like timer device, squishy device, and so forth. We need to have those because they're all written in 68K assembly. When we're moving over to Amiga 1, one of the major issues is we need to re-implement them, because the hardware that these devices are banging is no longer there. Generic PCI library. Have you ever wondered why it's necessary to have 3 different PCI libraries? Well, it's not really necessary, so we're going to get rid of that, so I hope. And well, this is a new added item on the list, the PPC native installer replacement. Everybody loves the Commodore installer, except for the people that wrote scripts for it, and you know, so it's actually quite a piece of messy code. So we hooked up with the people of installer NG, and they're currently reworking it. So for us, it's going to be included with OS4. So this is a list of features that we so far have selected. Nothing new here. I mean, we've been working on this thing for more than a year now. No, not more than a year, almost a year now. So now you all want to know, when is it going to be finished? Well, I don't know really, but no, I'm kidding. So next slide. Yes, that's you. Yeah. hello, do I know you from somewhere? Isn't that the show organizer by any chance? What? He's not allowed to come in anymore apparently, so I lost his ticket. Okay, the development delays, the favorite question. Why are the development delays? Well, originally we said, okay, we're going to do something like February, March 2002. It's now November. I'm not particularly ashamed really, but well, still people are pissed off at me. So, well, we completely threw out the original plan. The original plan was to have some kind of Amiga in the box. So it's a bit like Amitlon, or competitive project to OS4, which shall go unnamed. Well, anyway, so we wanted to make sure that even the old applications were aware of the new kernel and could potentially, I'm saying that they always will do so, exploit the new functionality offered by the kernel. Also, the idea was to use Warp OS and the Hagen and Partner 68K emulator to produce exactly something like Amiga XL or Amitlon. We soon realized it actually wasn't very technologically very satisfying, and well, the Frieden brothers decided then that they were going to ditch this plan. Of course, as soon as we did that, the time frame also went out of the window. But we tried to make up for the delays by putting a lot of stuff in OS 4.0, which was originally foreseen for 4.2. Actually, there's even stuff that was originally foreseen for 4.5. So we hope this more or less makes up for it. And otherwise, well, sorry guys. Well, and then of course some of you might know this, but we've actually written the firmware for the Amiga 1 Teron CXPX boards sold by my firmware being the BIOS piece of software that initializes the NOR bridge, SAW bridge, IDE controller, PS2 keyboard, USB, and so forth. And actually, I must say that we're quite impressed with the work we've done so far. No, we've adapted PPC boot for the Amiga 1, and it boots from floppy, from IDE, from CD-ROM over a network, and all this functionality can be exploited also by basically OS4. And some of this stuff you can see there. Initially, we had a problem because the hardware was thinking it was going to boot from a serial line. Of course, the one thing we didn't bring with us was a serial line. So we had floppies, we had CDs, we had hard drives, but no serial line. So luckily, we were able to fix that. So you can see this, but of course, it has introduced a small delay whilst we were taking care of it. Now, the upside of this is that we know now the Amiga 1 hardware intimately. This will allow us to untie the operating system from the chipsets in a much more timely fashion, because we already know the IDE controller, we know the SAW bridge, we know the USB and so forth, we know the memory controller, which is basically in the NOR bridge, so we can move on a lot faster. What is left to do, really? A burning question, especially for us. Well, when I look at the list, it's luckily going down every day. Okay, I hope this is not the last one. Okay, the development status. Around 90% of the OS components are now finished, and the remaining 10% will be finished in the next few weeks. Most of these components are already finished, and even some of the unfinished ones are already undergoing testing, external testing by people since I think late September. It's about 23 people have been testing these modules, and I recently got an email from somebody saying, I've been running the new modules from OS4 on my Amitlon system. Apparently that works. You're not supposed to advertise this, but it occasionally works, not all the time. And he said, well, it ran better with the OS4 patches, a more stable manner than with OS 3.9. So, but we're not going to do an Amitlon version, so because otherwise we're going to be walking into that dispute, and we don't want to do that. So. Okay, so the kernel already runs and boots on the Amiga 1, as you can see out there. What is now the main work that needs to be done is the 68K emulation integration. Fortunately, we were going to plan a demonstration here of a full system running on the Cyberstorm PPC with emulator integrated and so forth. We didn't quite make it. I think it's probably a question of 2-3 days, and well, that's how it goes really. So we're nearly there. This will allow us to have a full system booting up on the Cyberstorm, later also on the Amiga 1, and at that point, when the rest of the OS, 10% of the OS modules are finished, we can declare the OS finished, and well, then I think I'm going to get really drunk then. So, okay, and for the Amiga 1 version, we need to do the rewrite of all the hardware banging devices and OS modules for the Amiga 1. Let's put everything in perspective. What most people do not realize is that a lot of the chipset banging is actually going on in the old exec. And as you know, we already rewritten the old exec with a HAL, hardware abstraction layer, and the rest of it runs on top of this HAL, so we already have it running on the Amiga 1. So that's a major milestone in terms of migrating the classic AmigaOS over to the Amiga 1. Actually, 5 days. Did I already say that? 5 days. We're particularly proud of that. So, well, anyway. So, and then, of course, there's all these devices: printer device, serial device. Well, printer device is not banging the hardware; it's using parallel and serial. But this type of devices need to be rewritten because they directly address the current Amiga hardware. This is not so much of a problem, as I said before. The firmware has allowed us to gain a deep insight into the Amiga 1 hardware, and we hope it's a fairly trivial manner. There's of course other issues. Graphics library will be replaced by P96 v3. It's probably going to be some other place. We know, for instance, in Intuition there is some kind of check for the mouse buttons that get pressed, so we need to test this, of course, to see that all the chipset dependencies are gone, but we don't foresee any major calamities. But that's with a big disclaimer though, so we actually haven't done it yet, so but we're fairly confident. I mean, after a year you're allowed to be confident. So okay, you're not allowed to press the button now because it says now questions and answers, and I'm not allowed to do that, so you'll have to wait until 5 o'clock. And the person that imposed this limitation was standing behind the window for obvious reasons, you know. I don't know who's next up, but well, I'll see you again at 5 o'clock together with, I believe, Fleecy. Well, we'll do a Q&A, so... okay, well, don't go away now.
Okay.
Every time I come here, they put these up this high because they know I'm short and they think it's really funny. I'm going to box next time. Now, before we start, please tell me we're not doing what we did last year. That bizarre.
No, you just
for that. Anyway, thank you all for coming. As typical in this time of year, it's a really grim day. In fact, I don't understand why we do this, because Huddersfield did the show when it was blizzarded conditions, and that was done. We do it in November. We need to pick like a sunny time to do these shows.
We did that once, and nobody turned up.
Sorry, it's the sun. We've got to go somewhere else.
To the beach.
Anyway, yeah, I'd like to thank you all for coming. I'd really like to thank all the user groups involved in setting this up, you know, and HAUG, FCA. I told you to write it down, I forget it. And I don't mean to abscond anyone by actually forgetting them. So, why I like coming here is because it's always interesting to come down and laugh at how much Londoners pay for beer. And I see it's actually, there's two constants actually. The beer's always like a quid extra. And coming along that road off the M25, every year they seem to move those roadworks like 500 yards further on. They never seem to actually get where they're going to. So that was fun. Bill McEwen sends his regards. The reason he couldn't come for this meeting, or the show, is actually what the main announcement is today. He's currently in Seattle at the what's called the MPAC group, which is, MPAC stands for, how's that called? Mobile something something. It's the it's the Microsoft group for the top tier OEMs that they're pushing to do mobile products, the smartphones and the PDAs that we have been concentrating heavily on for the last 6 months with the Amiga DE. Now, he's there because at this MPAC group, Microsoft have basically, and this is the big announcement, have agreed that they want to distribute all of the DE content in what we've got as patented game card formats. And they are going to take they're going to use their marketing muscle and all of the distribution channels they have to distribute Amiga games. for the Pocket PC and for the smartphone. Now this is a gargantuan deal for us. It basically makes us as a company, because we no longer have to worry about investment or anything like that. Microsoft themselves have told us they expect to sell between 5 and 10 million PDAs next year, and they're going to sell, they're estimating 30 million smartphones next year. And they are going to be distributing our stuff, Amiga stuff, on that. And it's not us having to push our way into companies as Amiga, it's the Microsoft sales force, which, as we know, they're nasty tactics, but this time the tactics are going to work for us rather than against us. So that is the big announcement. Now, I know most of you are here for the the AmigaOS 4 stuff, but what's so important about this and why we started it so long ago was that we knew when we bought Amiga, yeah, Amiga, great product, needs a lot of work to get it moved forwards, the OS and the hardware. And at that time, every investor we spoke to, when we said we want to try and move Amiga, said, what is it? We said, desktop system, server system. They said, we wouldn't want to put money in that, it's doomed, because of the dominance of Microsoft and because of Linux at the time as well. So what we did with the DE is, like, we know we've got to have another strand to our bow. We've got to have something else that we know we can use to sort of, invest in AmigaOS. And that's why we've spent so much time on the DE. And that's why the last 6 months we've been very quiet. Our attitude has been, after all the slagging that the anti-Amiga effluence has been pumping out into the internet, that there was no point even arguing with them, talking to them. The only thing people wanted to see is the product. They want to see the Amiga 1, they want to see AmigaOS 4. And so we said, we're going to withdraw everything, we're not going to start saying anything, because every time we did, it was turned around, used against us. So we went underground, basically, for 6 months, most of it doing the DE stuff, and then with Ben and Alan and those guys doing AmigaOS 4 and the Amiga 1. And as you can see with Ben's announcement and Alan's announcement, it's very close to fruition. We're still not going to give a date, because we all know that dates are meaningless and there's no point disappointing people, but it's very, very close. What else can I say? So, to sum up, we have had a very difficult time. We're never going to pretend that we haven't. Money has been very, very tight, but it isn't anymore. And with this deal with Microsoft and with all the developers who've worked so hard on the D, the Pagans, the Zio Neos, people who have looked at this and said, we want to develop for AmigaOS, but we also know that we understand your strategy, we want to help you with the D as well. They're now going to get to benefit from that, because they'll be getting money from this as much as we do. In fact, without their content, we are just a game engine that we've written for this. It's their content that's going to sell. It's their content that's going to get the Amiga name out, because people are going to be picking these things up, and they're going to be sold everywhere. The initial deal is to sell them in America through the big store chains, the CompUSAs, the Tandys, or what are they called? Radio Shacks in America. Walmart, all these big places, and because it's, as I said, the Microsoft people going in and saying, here you are, they're like, yeah, we'll sell whatever Microsoft gives us. And people are going to play these, and all of them have Amiga Boing Ball, and they have Amiga, and it's going to get our name back so much. They'll come to the website, which I hope you'll fix before it looks like crap, and they'll say, oh, AmigaOS, I wonder what that is. And that's how we start this. Now, the AmigaOS itself, we know we're in a rut, everyone knows that. The new hardware and the new OS is what's needed to get us moving forwards. And in getting us to move forwards, it's going to take time. We need to get the people who are on it now moved over. We then need to go after the old Amigans, the people who've moved away, who remember how much fun it was. A good example of this is Sven. Where's Sven Harvey? Oh, hi Sven. Sven Harvey. Many of you might not know this because I didn't, to my dying shame. But Sven writes an Amiga column in a nationally syndicated magazine called Micromart, and it's one of these ones where you get second-tier companies making PCs, components and stuff. But because there's some ex-Amigans there, he actually has a full column published weekly, isn't it? Okay, and it's only a page or two, is it? A page. But it's, we had to start. Now, we went to a show they did, one of these, come buy as much PC stuff as you can and we'll out the door type things. It was the biggest show I'd been to, just because it was PC. It was massive, wasn't it, at the NEC in Birmingham. And not only did I get loads of good deals, but what it had is that we were there, Amiga was there. All these people come up to us and say, how do you guys have Amiga? And they were looking at it and seeing it and touching it. And we spoke so much to these people. We were hoarse by the end of it. But what it proved is that there's a massive market out there. People, they bought PCs because the PC was there, they used it at work, but they want to come back to the Amiga. And so there, after we get the people who use Amigas now, we're going after the people who used to use them, remember what they are. It is going to take time, and we're also in that vicious, horrible cycle of, people buy computers because they want apps, but apps are being developed by people who have a big market. So it's going to take time. We're not suddenly going to, in a year, have 1 million users. I mean, we'll be quite happy if we can get to, 20, 30,000 users at some point. It's further on than where we are now. But what's good is that, as I said, with the DE success that we can announce today, and don't shoot me if it's not up on the website yet, because I was supposed to check with McEwen and I couldn't contact him, so it was supposed to be up, okay? So anyone starts saying, oh, another Amiga, no bloody press announcements, that's why. Because Microsoft Legal got hold of it. So, yeah, exactly. So that's it, okay? We are moving forwards. We're very, very close to having what you all want, which is a new AmigaOS 4 and on brand new hardware. The Freedens have done a fantastic job with this kernel. People are always saying to me, oh, what's it going to look like? It's going to look a lot like OS 3.9 because all the hard work's under the hood. Anyone who shows you 24-bit icons and a lovely bench, it's like, well, whoopee, anyone can control that in a paint program. What the hell does it do under there? And Amigans are only going to be satisfied with an operating system that does what it's supposed to do under the hood. And that's what they spent all their time on. And once we get this out there, and it's working, and we're all happy with it, then OS 4.2, that's when we start to prettify it, So, in closing, I'd like to say thank you all for coming. We're going to have a question and answer section, so I'll try and answer any questions that you may have. Thank you very much.
Where's Ben Harmon? Anybody go and get Ben Harmon's, please? All right. Okay, quickly before we... Oh God, I hate this. Now, I'll tell you what, we'll do the Q&A session, and after that we're going to do the raffle. So if you've got your... you're not doing it, okay? You're not doing it, okay? You can go home, all right? We're going to do the raffle right after that, so get your ticket stubs ready. Right, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to not only start off this Q&A session, but to also say that a certain distinguished Amiga generalist by the name of Andrew Corn over there is going to... Well, allegedly, is going to chair this session. Put your questions through to Fleecy and Ben. For the purposes of the people listening to audio, Andy will repeat the question, and then you will get an answer, okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, without much further ado, Andrew Corn.
Okay, hello folks. I'm sure you will have some interesting questions to ask Fleecy about Microsoft and to ask Ben about OS 4.0. So let's get going with no further ado. Who has a question?
If you've got a mediator with PPC, will OS 4 be available at some time for it or not?
Okay, the question is, will OS 4 run on a mediator and PPC? I think we can extend that to any other similar hardware platforms.
We are still aiming to support the Blizzard PPC, which is obviously what you have, yes, right? Blizzard, yeah. Right. I mean, the 4000 mediator is actually rather simple to support. The 1200 mediator is a bit of a hack, so I had a bit of an argument with somebody about that lately. But I mean, the Amiga 1200 was never meant to be extended. And they put like Ethernet cards on the clock port, and they put all kinds of weird ass stuff, So we're gonna need a bit more time to test all this stuff, because if we put something out there and your mediator doesn't work, I know what you're gonna do. So we're gonna first put out the CyberStorm version, then concurrently we're working with the Amiga 1 version, and then we're gonna release that, possibly together with the Blizzard. But we first want to make sure, together with Albox and other hardware producers, that as much as possible of the current hardware is supported.
Okay, next question please.
Can Fleecy give us an update as to what's happening with the I Am Amiga Club?
Okay, Fleecy, you've been put on the spot here. Our friend over here wants to know what's going on with the I Am Amiga Club.
Okay. That's all Bill's fault. Yeah, exactly. There is going to be an executive update in the next few days in which I think Bill's going to spell that out. I am not dodging the question, but I will give you the answer that I don't know. It's not that is a marketing thing. It's not much to do with me at all. I actually told him it was a stupid idea, and he did it anyways. I mean, there's been a lot of crap flying around the website about how, the funny thing about me not being here, so, I am not here. Also the the fact that we've got no money, bankrupt, blah blah blah. Okay, as is patently obvious in what I've just said, it's just horseshit. It's people who have got an invested interest in making people think that. Same with the I Am Amiga Club. As far as I know from what they're doing, they've got the T-shirt designs, they've got a name, they're picking it. I think you probably know more about this than I do. I try and stay away from that stuff, but there's no shady stuff going on at all. I mean, so hopefully the executive update will specify that. But if anyone has any real issues with it, email me, okay, and I'll try and find out from within the company. My email's fleecy@amiga.com. It's very simple, okay. So if you're finding you can't get through certain channels, official channels, just send me an email and I'll try and answer your questions specifically.
As I'm not part of the company, you don't have to be polite. I think the answer is probably that they're kind of busy at the moment and not prioritising it all that much, but hang on, it's on its way. Okay, next question, please.
With regards to the OS 4, the SDK, when do you expect that to be available for fully documented for people that haven't developed with the Amiga before?
Okay, the question is about OS 4 and an SDK availability thereof. When is it going to come out, and will it be properly documented, especially for people who do not already have experience in programming for the Amiga?
Can one of your friends now come? No, I'm serious. No, every time I hear SDK, I immediately think of the Download stuff, right? So yeah, we as you know, there are already for 3.5 and 3.9 developer CDs available, right? We intend to continue that tradition. We've worked with Olaf Bartel, or rather he's done the work. He's been re-editing the Amiga ROM kernel manuals, and they still contain a lot of interesting information. And it's become possible lately to digital printing and so forth to have a limited production run of a book. Before it used to be unaffordable, but now is possible. So what we're going to do is, on the one hand, we're going to have the developer CD with a GCC 3.0, I think it is. Thomas, am I right? Is it 3.2? 3.2. Oh, I'm out of date. Anyway, so GCC 3.2 OS4 compiler on the development CD, which is going to be sold at cost to developers. So we're not going to make money out of it. So the idea is to get as many people developing for OS4. And together, we're going at the same time, we're going to try to edit the ROM kernel manual. And obviously, there is a lot more documentation that could go on this development CD. But it's going to take a while to compile it all. I mean, we don't really expect zillions of developers to flock back to the Amiga as soon as OS4 hits the market, and it's probably going to be a bit later, especially for large companies, where most likely the model will be that somebody goes in there, licenses a big application, like for instance RealSoft licensed to us their successor to Real3D, RealSoft, I think it's 3.4 or 5 now, and we hope to have that out concurrently with OS4.
Okay, next question, please. Okay, the question is a marketing question, which I'm sure Felicia is really looking forward to answering. Basically, with coverage coming in Micromart and potentially in other magazines, what effort is Amiga going to go into promoting it through the general media?
Okay. As I was saying before, the issue with trying when we're going to promote AmigaOS is if we take it now and try and blitz everyone, and they'll say, okay, we're really interested, let's go and get it. They're going to get a machine with a few new apps on it and all the older apps on it. It's not at the stage for a general user where it would be usable, to be honest. It's a real, I mean, you guys, you know yourselves, you know, you tweak it, you use it. We only really want to start going after the general market once we've got a really good browser, a really good word processor. Things that people say, well, this does everything I need. You know, because the last time we want some buying it saying, well, this doesn't do half the things I need. Well, you know, I'm going back to Windows or OS 10 or whatever it is. So the way we're intending on doing it is going initially after, as I said, people like yourselves, Amigans now, people who used to be Amigans, and also we're going after niche markets, so specifically going after audio and 2D desktop stuff as well, because we have some very good applications there. And a lot of the stuff being put into the underlying architecture of OS4 is designed to make sure that we have killer audio and killer 2D stuff. In terms of going after the bigger market, yes, we are going after a lot of the companies, and to be honest, a lot of the big magazines. Bill himself knows. He's a personal friend with one of the principals at ZDNet, for instance. Oh God, it's principal at ZDNet, whatever it's called. Ziff Davis, that's right. And there's lots of people. He's always on these American shows. Now, coming over to Europe, obviously he doesn't know that many people, and we are looking in the near future at hiring someone just to specifically take care of the European operation. So to answer your question, we really are going to push it like hell, but once it's in a situation to be able to push it as a full solution for a person who just wants to use a computer. Okay?
Okay, next question.
There are currently a lot of tools for porting Unix applications to AmigaOS. Samba would be a great example of that. Are these tools going to be updated? Are there plans to sort of support that, porting of applications for AmigaOS 4?
Well, that is actually the plan. I mean, with respect to Samba, I believe that's some kind of networking solution to connect Windows machines to other anything else, basically. Olaf Bardel does that, and he's one of the main OS4 developers. So, he really hates Samba, but everybody. And apparently, it's very poorly documented. But apparently, sometimes it does actually work. So we're going to probably include that as a contribution. Now, with respect to Unix software being ported, obviously we have a lot of access to grind in that area, and quite heated discussion about that the other day on the OS4 mailing list, OS4 developer mailing list, which stands at 7,000 plus messages for. So now you know what I'm doing all day. But anyway, so yes, we are of course having developed for Mac OS 9, 10, Linux, and so forth. We are looking at ways of making it much easier to move over code from other operating systems, include BSD and so forth, to the Amiga OS. GCC is a cross-platform compiler, by the way, and we've got a few APIs like OpenGL, which are also shared on other platforms. So does that answer your question, more or less? Thank you.
Okay, next question.
Any plans for web design software?
Okay, question is, are there any plans for web design software?
Not by us.
Does anybody have any plans for web design software? Okay, well, no, I mean, it's important to understand that we are just providing the operating system and possibly porting a few key applications. Felicia already identified a few areas like a browser or Office package. We will have to evaluate when time comes. But it can't be the idea that Hyperion and company are going to single-handedly provide every piece of functionality for the operating system. Then we can just rename it to Hyperion OS, or it has to be done by the very rich development community that's still out there. And we believe that as soon as they realize that there might still be a more sizable market, that the enthusiasm might again rekindle. Especially because a lot of people have been put off by the fact their machines keep coming down when they break down. They send off their car to Germany, aka black hole, and never to be heard of again. It's not the atmosphere that you want to have developers enthusiastically develop software. With new, reliable, and easily replaceable hardware, we believe the situation will look up.
I mean, we've spoken to a lot of companies. Well, glad that was that actually. I thought, what the hell was that poking in I mean, we speak to a lot of companies about DE, for instance, about getting them to put stuff onto that. And we also, every time we go in there, they always come back to us and say, oh, good, yeah, I remember AmigaOS, have you got any plans for that? And we tell them exactly what we're doing, and they go, well, once you guys get a market that makes money, we'll be back. But that's the problem at the moment, because it won't be big enough for a lot of companies. It would be a labour of love, and I'm sure quite a few of them would actually do it. But a lot of them also have investors and boards who won't do it. So
then you need to license it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we were talking to one of the biggest IDE developers, and they're the same attitude. You know, in fact, this guy was the first guy. The guy we were speaking to happens that he works for them now, but was the first guy who opened an Amiga store in Mexico. And, you know, we were at the mobility conference in London a few months ago. And he just comes up and says, Amiga, and tells us all about this history of his shop. So I mean, there's so much potential, but ultimately, it will have to be, if it's ever going to be successful, it's got to be commercially viable. I mean, most of us here have bought stuff that we thought, you know, this is way pricey for what it is, and we've done it because we wanted to support the platform and keep it going. But at some point, when you want to go from that stage to back into a real business stage, it has to start, and it'll benefit us all because once they come back in, there will be reasonable prices, you know, competitive stuff as well. So yes, we're trying to get as much as we can. There's just so much to do. You know, we've been in the doldrums for so long. You know, and I mean, I'll stand up and say, yes, we've made mistakes. It should never have taken as long as it has. And I understand the frustrations of everyone who's had to put up with this. And we are getting there. I mean, that's why we stopped, you know, commenting on websites and mailing lists, because we were just getting slammed. And it was like, well, okay, what you're really saying is bugger off and come back and show us when you've got it. So that's what we did. And then we got slammed for that as well. So.
Okay, next question. No? Down here.
What features have you got planned for OS4's desktop workbench?
Okay, the question is, what features are planned for the desktop workbench for OS4?
Olaf Bardell told us, I will not touch Workbench anymore. Because apparently the code is in a terrible state. So he said, no, it needs a complete rewrite. So for OS 4.0, we're not touching it. You'll get the OS 3.9 Workbench. At the same time, we actually have licensed directory Opus, Magalan 2. And for those of you that know it, it's very powerful. It might not appeal to everybody, but we hope to make an OS 4 specific version of that for the power user. And hopefully that will be sufficient to tide you over until we actually get Olaf to actually rewrite Workbench. So he's gonna do it. I'll make him. That's what I say now. So he's not here. So.
Okay, next question. Okay, I've got a question for Fleecy. Yeah, I thought you'd appreciate this one. The Microsoft deal, can you tell us what it is that Microsoft see in Amiga D? Why do they want...
important about that is that because we control the host, the AmigaOS, we can write the pie, the bit that joins them together, and we can make it more efficient than any of the other things, because we don't have to, I mean, we're stuck on Pocket PC, so we have to do what it does. If it's crap, we're limited by it. But with it being our host, we can go straight through into what we like. And eventually it becomes so seamless that on your Amiga desktop, you know, you might, or Workbench, you won't know what it is. It could be a D app, it could be a native PPC app. You wouldn't know. And also, because with the DE, you also get Java as well. So I mean, suddenly you not only got AmigaOS, you've got DE content and you've got Java content. And the Java thing is actually, I'll be very quick, is really interesting because we've got a guy developing Java extensions so that they dynamically allow Java developers to use DE stuff, the advanced graphics, the 2D to 3D, which isn't available in the mobile market for MIDP, which is the preferred Java solution there. So we're actually pushing Java not as an environment, but as a development language for people who don't want to do C++ or VP, but they're quite happy to use something high level like Java. So I mean, it's big because anything that benefits the DE ultimately benefits directly the AmigaOS with the content, and indirectly because it's funding it basically. In fact, I mean, at the risk of being stoned, you can always say Microsoft is going to save Amiga.
Whether they like it or not. Okay, we've got time for one more question. I'm going to ask this guy on the table here.
Is there any plans to actually keep people informed through the website? I know that Hyperion's website has been over.
Yeah, I know. It's a damn shame.
Over a year ago.
Okay, the question is about websites, both Amigas and Hyperion's, and the general lack of recent updates and whether there are any plans to improve the situation. I'll start with Fleecy.
I mean, as I said, we have always been crap at that. I mean, with limited resources, we've had to put money where we can put it. You know, I mean, Andy's actually, every time I see him, is nagging me about getting someone professional to do it. We obviously, at some point, are going to have to. You know, we've got to do it now, because if people come to your website, they're not going to look much further. So, yes, we are. In our defence, apart from the resource restrictions we've gone through, as I said before, we've also basically decided to go underground for 6 months. It was not, some of the things that have been done to us as a company are just incredible. And I mean, I'm not going to I can't say most of them because you wouldn't believe half of them anyway. But one of the reasons we had to go underground, well not underground, but stop replying to things is, I mean, someone very kindly wrote a nice little piece of software that kept phoning our phones up constantly, filling our bloody voicemails up. So when customers like Microsoft are coming along, they can't get it because the phone system's jammed. It's basically a mass spam attack on the phones. You know, we've had other stuff like people doing, I mean, with Bill getting phone calls in the middle of the night, waking his kid up, scaring the shit out of them. You know, I mean, it's stuff that is just unbelievable. You know, and so we thought we've just got to pull away from this. I mean, if people want to do that, they can. We're doing what we said before. We're getting Amiga on OS 4 out, and that's what we're going to use. That will answer our critics. If they want to slag that off because it's not very good or it's unstable or it's a speed issue, that's fine because it's an open fight. But this other stuff is ridiculous. But answering your question, yes.
What was the question again? No, seriously, I know the website been sorely neglected, and we try to make up for it a bit through the OS 4 section on the Amiga website, and where they have a full feature list and some regular screenshots, and actually appearances on venues like this are usually also filtered back to the community through postings or items on news websites, but it really doesn't. A bit of a back problem there. Anyway, it doesn't really make up for the fact that we haven't updated our website, and really, it's a question of time. Really, I mean, most of the time, you know, it's me who does the content because Hans-Jürgen Thomas and the others have to develop, and I basically have to take care of the legal side and all that, and the project overview. Because people are working on small components and they don't see the overview anymore, so that's my job. And well, that's a very poor excuse. I wish I could say I get calls in the middle of the night or something, or you know, but unfortunately that's not the case. Well, I don't have a fixed line, so that's a tip for Bill there.
Okay, that's all the time we have for this question and answer session. I'd just like to thank Felicie and Ben here, and please all give them a hand. If you have any more questions, you'll just have to come again next year. And now it's time for the raffle, so everyone get prepared, get your tickets out, and here's